What unfolded in Melbourne during the Australian Open semifinal between Carlos Alcaraz and Alexander Zverev was one of the most dramatic, physically demanding, and emotionally charged matches the tournament has ever seen. This was not just a semifinal, it was a 5-hour battle of endurance, belief, and survival that pushed both players to their absolute limits. In the end, Carlos Alcaraz prevailed, winning the deciding fifth set 7-5 and booking his place in his first ever Australian Open final. From the very first games, it was clear this match was going to be special. Alcaraz started with confidence and authority, playing the kind of high-intensity tennis that has made him world number one. His forehand was explosive, his footwork sharp, and his ability to change pace and direction kept Zverev constantly guessing. The Spaniard was aggressive without being reckless, stepping inside the baseline and taking time away from the German whenever possible. Zverev, meanwhile, began. The match solid but cautious, his serve was effective, but in extended rallies he often found himself on the defensive. Alcaraz's variety, mixing heavy topspin with drop shots and sudden accelerations, disrupted Zverev's rhythm early on. The first set was tight and physical, but Alcaraz handled the key moments better. He raised his level when it mattered most and took the set, setting the tone for what followed. In the second set, Alcaraz looked even more comfortable. He broke serve early, maintained relentless pressure, and showed impressive composure under stress. When he went 2-0, it felt like the match was slipping away from Zverev. But Zverev never stopped believing. As the third set began, the dynamics slowly started to shift. Alcaraz was still playing aggressively, but subtle changes became noticeable. He was taking longer between points. His movement, still impressive, wasn't quite as explosive. Then came the turning point of the match. Alcaraz began to cramp. At first, he tried to manage it. He stretched during changeovers, shortened points when possible, and relied on shot-making rather than movement. But as the set progressed, the cramping intensified. His legs began to betray him, and his ability to defend and counterpunch, usually one of his greatest strengths, was clearly compromised. Zverev immediately sensed the opportunity. What followed was one of the best stretches of tennis of Zverev's career. He adjusted his tactics perfectly, extending rallies, adding depth, and forcing Alcaraz to move even when it was visibly painful. Zverev didn't rush. He didn't overhit. He stayed patient and methodical, trusting that the physical battle would eventually tilt in his favor. The third set went to Zverev, and suddenly the momentum had completely changed. By the fourth set, Alcaraz was clearly struggling physically. The cramps worsened, limiting his movement to the point where even walking between points looked uncomfortable. Yet despite the pain, he refused to back down. He continued fighting for every ball, relying on instinct, timing, and sheer willpower to stay competitive. Zverev, on the other hand, was playing with growing confidence. His serve became more reliable under pressure, his backhand was rock solid, and his forehand started finding the corners at crucial moments. This was Zverev at his best, calm, disciplined, and mentally strong. As the fourth set slipped away from Alcaraz, the match was pushed into a fifth and deciding set, entering uncharted territory. At this point, the match had already crossed the 5-hour mark, making it one of the longest encounters ever played at the Australian Open. Every rally felt heavier, every point carried enormous weight. The physical and mental demands were extreme. Alcaraz was running on pure determination. His movement was severely limited, but his competitive spirit never faded. He shortened points, took risks, and tried to, finish rallies early, knowing his body could no longer endure long exchanges. Zverev continued to apply pressure, believing the match was there for the taking. He served well, stayed aggressive, and pushed Alcaraz to the edge. For long stretches of the fifth set, it felt like Zverev might complete one of the greatest comebacks of his career, but champions find another level when everything seems lost. In the decisive moments of the fifth set, Alcaraz showed remarkable courage and composure. Despite the cramps, despite the pain, he found a way to raise his level. He played fearless tennis, stepping into his shots, trusting his instincts, and refusing to let the match slip away. At 5-5, with both players exhausted, Alcaraz produced his best tennis of the set. He attacked Zverev's serve, played aggressively on return, and finally secured the crucial break. The crowd could sense the moment. This was the turning point. Serving for the match at 6-5, Alcaraz dug deep. Every movement looked painful, but his focus never wavered. He landed big first serves, played bold forehands, and closed out the match 7-5 in the fifth set. When the final point was played, Alcaraz collapsed to the court. A mix of relief, exhaustion, and emotion washing over him. This was not just a win. It was a statement. Carlos Alcaraz had survived one of the toughest matches of his young career. He had overcome severe physical adversity, resisted one of the best performances Alexander Zverev has ever produced, and proven once again why he is world number one. For Alcaraz, this victory means more than just a place in the final. It marks his first ever Australian Open final, completing another milestone in an already historic career. He has now reached the final of every Grand Slam, and he did it in the most dramatic way possible. As for Alexander Zverev, this was a heartbreaking loss, but also a reminder of his incredible level. He played one of the best matches of his life, showed outstanding mental strength, and pushed the world number one to the absolute limit. Despite the defeat, his performance confirmed that he remains a serious contender on the biggest stages. This semifinal will be remembered for years, not just for its length, but for its intensity, its drama, and the resilience shown by both players. A 5-hour epic, a battle against the body, a fifth-set finish, and a young champion who refused to give in. Carlos Alcaraz is into his first Australian Open final, and he earned it the hard way. Do you think Alcaraz will win the Australian Open? I read you in the comments. If you liked the video, subscribe for more. See you tomorrow.